Hey,
Got it.
9:30 on my line.
Go ahead. Slide in and say hi. We'll just let them know that you're. Yeah. Go.
what did you want me to do?
Just when I'll introduce you
Okay.
and just say that you're present. Yeah. Oh, you got to go back up to top.
Then I can take the heat for the. I'll take the heat.
Everybody in. What do you got?
Yep.
Any more stragglers?
One's trying to join. Oh, we're good.
All right, it's 9:31 here, and we are going to get moving with our qualifiers and participants meeting for the 2023 boys basketball state tournament. We'll go ahead and Randy and move on to the next slide. All right, congratulations and welcome. I want to introduce our staff to you first. And many of you on the AD side of things I've had a chance to meet, but many coaches possibly not. So my name is Phil Archer. I'm newer at the league, I would say at this point. Arguably, I feel like I've been around for a little while, but not so much. So it's still just, I think, under a year at this point. But I'm the tournament director for boys basketball. I'm excited to meet a lot of you and be able to host this event for you at Target Center, University of Minnesota, and at Concordia. Our tournament managers, Jamie Sherwood, Tom Groutman, Neil Fletcher will also be helping out there at Concordia. Jason Nickleby, Steve Mikowski on the official side of things. And then we've also got joining us today, Laura McIntoon and Tim Layton from the league that will cover a few things on the website side of things, and Randy Hill, who is the support staff from the MSHSL office who runs basketball. And Randy's come to us in the last year and been a great addition to the team as well. So this is your tournament management staff. And today what we're going to do is run through some of the ins and the outs from a logistical standpoint of our 2023 boys basketball tournament. Again, we're going to be at 3 sites. We've got a lot of moving parts. We've got schools traveling from all over the state. We've got weather. We've got all kinds of different things that we're handling and working through. And we're going to answer as many questions as we can on all of those things so that we can move as quickly as we can once tournament time comes. And then obviously at the end of this meeting, everything will kick back to me. I also have Tom Critchley here, the representative from the Boys Basketball Coaches Association. There he is right there to help out on the seating side of things to make sure it's not just the MSHSL on here doing things. And we'll go from there. So let's go to the next slide, please, Randy. Sweet. So real quick, this is our agenda for today. Again, congratulations to you from me and our tournament management staff. We're going to run through some quick website resources. We'll touch on media for a little bit. Obviously, in the 3 venues we have, media, reporters, all that kind of stuff is a big deal. And then we've got our the remainder of our participation guide covering things like rosters, entry into the events, stuff along those lines. And then we're going to knock out our seating here. So let's go ahead, Rand. All right. So for our state tournament website, I'm going to pass this over to Laura McIntoon, our director of IT that takes care of just about everything and fixes all the problems in the world for us. I'll let her get at you guys here for a few minutes and we'll go from there. Laura?
Thanks, Phil. Good morning, everyone. And as Phil said, congratulations and looking forward to a great boys basketball state tournament. The slide that is up right now has a screenshot of our boys basketball activity page. This is a public facing page and is really where you want to direct all of your fans, your spectators, your community to for the resources that they want and need to follow your team through the state tournament. This has a quick link over on the blue buttons. You'll see links for schedules. We have a very nice about 2-page printable spectator guide. ADs who spend a lot of time pulling together information, please check this out and use this and or adapt this for your communities. It covers everything from parking to apparel to streaming, kind of an everything in one place piece. There's a link to apparel. That's where streaming links will be. The souvenir program will be placed there when that is ready within the next 2 days. So again, this is really the page to direct your fans, communities, and spectators to. Randy, if you go ahead a slide, please. Ticketing for the boys state basketball is managed through 3 separate ticketing vendors. Each of our venues has its own vendor for ticketing. So I would stress that this is an incredibly important piece to work with your fans and spectators and communities on. All tickets should be purchased ahead of time online, and they are purchased from different vendors. So your folks need to have multiple apps to get to the different ticketing places, regardless of which venue they're at. Some of you, depending on your class and your trip through the tournament, may end up at all 3 of those venues. So again, incredibly important to alert your fans of this. All of our tickets are linked through mshsl.org/tickets. So that is the home base that people should begin at. But when they click purchase tickets, depending on which venue they're at, they will have a different experience buying that ticket, and it will ultimately put that ticket into a different spot on their phone or in that app for them. So again, this is it's a little bit of a bump in the road for us to have 3 ticket vendors, but it does happen with a tournament this big with the number of venues we use. So to keep your fans and spectators happy, please work with them on this piece. I would say working through girls basketball this week, the toughest part of ticketing has been those that have lost their first round and then end up at Concordia. Those folks have been a little bit caught off guard to, oh, I need to buy my ticket from a different place, and now I need to get that part set up. So again, anything you can do within your communities and fan base to let them know that tickets should be purchased ahead of time. They can all be linked from our website, but to give themselves time to get those up and running for each of the different venues. And again, each of you will have a different path through the tournament and may experience only one of these. But as you move from venue to venue, please know that that is one piece that changes. Randy, if you go ahead a little bit, moving a little bit more quickly through some pieces. Just a reminder that all of our programs are online. We expect the boys basketball program to likely go up online sometime midday to late day tomorrow. Encourage your folks to bookmark that, view it, print it. It is linked through a number of places, but the more places we can get people to that, that's their spot for rosters and all other things state tournament. So again, work with folks on that. Phil, do you want to talk a little bit about apparel? Jump back in here.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. So Signature Concepts, our new apparel provider at the Minnesota State High School League, is going to do on-site booths at Williams and at Target Center. Okay. So it'll be both days at Williams. Right now we're sitting at every day at Target Center. There will not be anything at the third site, Concordia, the Constellation site. So everything will be sold on the concourse. At the Target Center on the first 2 days, there'll be one location that is near, I believe, the escalators. There's a huge area where it's kind of open that looks over First Avenue. They've got an awesome setup there. They will set up a second booth during the end near the championship end of the championship round, excuse me. I would say that the talking points to your communities are that they are cashless. Make sure that people understand that there's credit card only on it. And to get there early and get their pieces that they want. They've been creating some cool stuff for us. The good thing is that they do have online sales available until the Tuesday following the tournament. So if for whatever reason people don't get them, I know boys basketball doesn't do a banquet or don't do any pre-sale things like the girls do. So if there are some things where it might get tough to get up there and get something, stuff is available. Don't freak out. So they've been phenomenal. They've created some awesome pieces for us, and we've gotten some really good feedback from all of our tournament goers and participants in the 2 seasons we've had them. So go ahead, Laura.
All tournament games will be streamed, and we do have 2 different streaming broadcast partners for both boys and girls basketball. Quarterfinals, third place games, and consolation games will all be streamed from NSPN.TV. NSPN is the organization that was formerly known as Prep Spotlight or School Space. They are our continued streaming partner. It is not a new organization as people get to that. What has changed about NSPN this year is they have gone to a subscription model instead of a pay per event model. And their price points right now are at $9.99 for a month. So any folks who subscribe to NSPN can catch all of the boys basketball games, as well as watch anything previously that happened this year for that $9.99 a month price point. That does also go to a $24.99 a year price point. So that year subscription can be great for people. Our semifinals and championship games in all 4 classes will be both streamed and broadcast by 45 TV. So again, just another piece to work with your community on. The Spectator Guide covers this. There are links to both of these on the boys basketball webpage, but just for you to know that you can assist and work with anyone who is looking to attend the tournament remotely and is not able to attend in person. Tim, I'm going to put it to you, Tim Layton, to talk a little bit about media attendance at the tournament.
Very good. Thank you, Laura, and good morning to everybody. Coming to you live from Williams Arena, where it's Championship Saturday on the girls basketball side. Many of you will be here next week to begin your journey during the state tournament play. The media coverage of the state tournament events, that's a big part of the state tournament experience for not only the member schools, but also the communities that they serve and the media organizations that cover your events. You'll see here some information about media as it relates to the student media program that has just been robust this winter. The member schools are embracing the student media program, and the student media program permits up to 2 students and 1 faculty advisor to be on site, to have that professional experience at being able to cover your school during the state tournament. The deadline to apply for on-site coverage for the student media program is Monday night at 7 p.m. I've already worked with quite a few of the administrators on this call and your administrative assistants to get you squared away. Also, guidance will be posted today. Actually, I believe it already is posted on our website to be able to help your student media and your faculty advisors get through the pass gate information. And then just a final reminder that the designated team photographer program has been discontinued, and member schools are doing a terrific job of relaying that information to everybody. I look forward to seeing all of you on site next week during the boys basketball tournament. If you have any questions or concerns as it relates to the student media program, please let me know. And with that, I'm going to throw it back to Laura. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. So most of the things we've talked about so far are things that have been available to the public as resources for the state tournament. There are also a number of documents that Phil, Randy, and others within the league office have been sharing with you to prepare for your trip to the state tournament. Many of those have come to you in email, and we know in our world of busy email boxes, often those are hard to keep track of and track down. The screenshot you're seeing right now shows you where all of those resources are cataloged for ADs and coaches across the state. So ADs and coaches, from your dashboard, you have a button that looks similar to number 1. And when you click on that sports and activities by that big red arrow, you get a number of accordions like the picture in number 2. One of those accordions says basketball, boys, and it's actually going to have your section number on it. Once you find that basketball, boys accordion and click the little plus over on the right-hand side, that's going to accordion open, and you're going to see over on the right-hand side in number 3, that long list of resources. All of the things that Randy and Phil and others out of our office have been sending emails to you. We work really hard to make sure that those are also in this location. So if you can't find a document, if you're wondering which is the most current version, This is your spot to find all of those resources. Following today's meeting, Randy's going to put both the slides and the recording of this video into that spot. And again, that list is pretty finalized right now. There are a few more resources that may get added there over the next 48 hours as we prepare for tournament time. But that is really your go-to. And again, that is on the dashboard of both ADs and coaches. And you can start to follow that 1, 2, 3 to get to that far right side that says state tournament resources. Phil, with that, I'm going to turn it back to you to work through some tournament logistics.
Awesome. Laura, Tim, thank you both for being here this morning. If you wouldn't mind hanging for a little bit in case some stuff comes through on chat or whatever we've got going there. So let's go ahead and move. Oh, thanks, Randy, for moving forward. All right, let's hop into some of the logistical pieces that your schools are going to be required to abide by, or information they're going to have to share with us at the league. So official squad, let's hop right into it. 18 players, 3 coaches, 2 student managers. This is not new. The one thing that I'm going to talk about real quick, and if Jamie Sherwood's on the call, I'm going to invite him to unmute in just a second here and add a little bit in. But you've got the student videographer that Tim spoke about for a quick second, but you're 5 additional people behind the bench. This is especially at the Target Center. This is an extremely visible event. I don't need everyone and their mom behind the bench, right? You have 5 people, your athletic trainer, your doc, if you decide to bring one, your statistician, and however else you fill those 2 in, whether it's the coaches or some other support that you have for your teams. Keep it at 5, and let's just be realistic and stay on it. I can't believe or even start to talk to you about some of the things that people have done to try and fill people in different sports and things like that. So I'd like this to go smooth, especially since this is extremely visible and on TV or streamed live. So let's make sure that we as athletic directors and coaches, head coaches, are doing a good job of at least staying within the guidelines that we are presenting here. That's a big one. Ineligible players, just hop in with your AD here if you're a coach and just review your rules and policies. If there's anything that you've gotten question that's not applicable to everyone, but you can get that in 206. Jamie, did you want to hop in and add anything on the official roster, maybe some entry into the stadium, the venue, if you're here?
Yeah, I'll cover a little bit more at the end, but just keep the slides going. I see a lot of familiar faces.
Yeah,
Coaches and ADs on here. A lot of it's the same, but it just gets, a little more tighter here. And I'm a region secretary. I run 2 sections for boys, and I know we asked our tournament managers to get it tight there, and not always do they. So let's talk 18 players. They have to be able to play into the game. If they're injured, they're still eligible. They're not serving any violations. So to tell you the 18 cannot be one serving a violation. So when we announce medals, they walk out on the floor, they have to be an eligible player, and an eligible player is someone who can go into the game and not serving a violation. 3 coaches in the front row. The 2 student managers. We go from 4A schools to 1A schools. We go a full complement of 18 players to 3 coaches and 2 managers to anything in between. You cannot put additional people on the front of the bench with an open seat. So you can't move a trainer to the front, can't move a doc to the front. You can't have 2 statisticians and 2 student managers. It's 2, 3, and 18. The back 5. I looked at this last night. I think this is my 29th year of working the state boys basketball. And so I went, when we only had 3, to the advantage of putting 5. 5 has to be your party. If you want a book, that's one of your 5. We have no room at the head table for a book. So you can't do 5 plus a book. The Minnesota State High School League is the official book of the game, but I understand you want to bring a book. It's got to be one of the 5. We have an athletic trainer there. You don't need to bring an athletic trainer, but if you do, it's one of your 5. I would say ADs, don't be one of the 5. We'll ask you to come stand on the floor near your student sections. You'll have access to your players, coaches, and benches, but don't take up one of those 5 seats. And the 3 coaches and the 5 people behind have to be the same people game after game after game. We are a Spartan staff at every one of our venues. And if all of a sudden people are asking us, can they switch with that? The answer will be no, just because we're trying to cover so many parts of the event. So I hate to come down heavy and, hard-handed here, but I'd say ADs, this a lot falls on you. We want our coaches to coach, but they need your help to manage this because everyone wants to be behind the camera, behind the bench, seen on the floor, etc. The last one I'll add to this, some of you have rosters more than 18. You've made the tough decision to bring 18 and some are not. They need to buy a ticket, be up in the stands. They should not be on the bus coming underneath the Target Center. Stop outside the garage door, drop them off, have them walk around. And then when you're warming up, they can't be down on the floor because we're asking every team to follow these rules. Another coach looks down and says, why do they have 25 people? Because half the sophomore team is standing there watching warmups. They're going to go back in the stands. I get that, but we want a clean floor when we're warming up. So I appreciate your help and cooperation in that. We'll work with the best we can to get things straightened out and get you going and have fun.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie. I appreciate you popping in there and throwing some experience and wisdom in there. Let's go ahead and move forward, Randy. All right. So Jamie hit on it a little bit on the athletic director side of things and where to go there. What I would say is one of the best things that you can do as an AD or the administrative representative. It might not be an AD if you have a assistant principal or somebody coming to help supervise or whatever. One of the best things I can say is come and check in with us. Let some of our staff know, whether it's Jamie, the tournament manager, whether it's myself, whether it's Randy Hill, who I'm not sure if Randy's got our video on so people can see her face, but come and check in with us. Let us know who you are, where you're going to be at, what we can do to assist you in the event of having something going on with your fans. So on the spectator side of things, just a couple of bullet points here talking about communicating clear expectations. And this is more for ADs, but coaches, this is on you a little bit too, because what we permit, we promote essentially. And so it starts with the people on the floor and on the bench, and it works its way out to the community and the spectators, the kids and parents and stuff like that. So being positive in everything, signs, cheers, chants, all of those different things create an energy and an atmosphere that we want to have of positivity. Cheer for your team, not against the other team. Just little things like that, talking to your spectators pre-event so that we've got a great atmosphere there. And then same thing with your, it says conductor of the band, being out front. So Jamie mentioned it, be out in front, be visible to your communities, not just to us, obviously, but be out in front of them and let them know that they're there, that you are there, and then we will be there for support as well. And we know where you're at then. That's a huge piece. So let's go ahead and move forward, Randy. All right, so let's hop into some of the logistical things. Venue access. Jamie talked a little bit about coming in on the bus. We're going to talk about if you don't. So if you look at the images there, we've got the Target Center on your left, and that's how you would enter the pass gate if you were to come in through the ramps. Now, our buses will drop off underneath, as everyone knows, but if you have to access the pass gate as a team, so players, coaches, things like that, our pass gate is you come in through the Skyway entrance, you go down the stairs, and then you will check in at the pass gate there. If you're on the official roster, you'll be escorted back up to the stands, and that's how you'll gain access. All right, that's the Target Center. Williams Arena, team buses, bands, spectators, they will all drop off through the drive-through in front of the university ramp. Now that's across from Williams. So the buses can pull in there. We've got police officers there that will help you cross the street and get into the venue. And then bus parking is over off of 6th Street. There's team access on the university pass gate side. So that pass gate for Williams Arena is in that area that's off of University between Williams and the PAV, where you would walk in, and that will be clearly marked on the university side. That will say it will say signs that say pass gate, enter here. And so you'll go in and you'll get access from the official roster at that pass gate, and then you can go to your right and head into Williams. All right. On the Concordia side of things, Concordia is pretty straightforward. You're going to drop off essentially in that lot C, just off of Hamlin. and then you'll proceed to the main entrance and check in there. The pass gate and the regular gate is there right on that Hamlin and Marshall entrance. And then bus parking will be in lot D. And most of your bus drivers will know that. If there's any questions or anything, we can always reach out and connect with us on it. All right, the participation guide, just a couple of quick hitters on this. Some bullet points of note. So bylaw 411, no team organized activities on Sunday. Obviously, I know today is Saturday. You're just figuring out who you got today. Spend your day getting your things together, however you choose to do so. But there's no organized team activities on Sunday. Just want to keep that as a bullet point. ADs, remind your coaches on that if you have any issues. You can handle those things internally. For our venues, teams will provide their own warm-up balls. We will have balls at the venues, but those will be for the game itself. So plan on bringing your own balls for warm-up. All right. Video exchange. So the section championship game with first round opponent and the high seed is to initiate the exchange. So the high seed is to initiate the exchange. We recommend being on Huddle because that's a pretty universal platform that everyone use, but the high seed will initiate the exchange. And then lastly, treatment of officials, right? This has been a hot topic over years. This is not new information. Coaches, ADs, we need support in the sportsmanship aspect and also in the treatment of officials, right? Whether it's comments, whether it's before and after game stuff, whatever it is, we've got to make sure that we're taking care of those folks and respecting the work that they are doing. All right, so a little bit on the setup here. So warmups are going to be 20 minutes for our quarterfinal and consolation and third place games, and largely because they're streamed and not on a broadcast schedule. Warmups on our semifinals and championship rounds are going to be 18 minutes, and there's going to be a lot of moving parts in those championship round games. So God willing, you proceed to those. Be ready to rock and roll because those are going to go really quick. From a review team introductions for each rounds, those are in your participation guide. You will want to review those with your coaches and possibly even your team in the locker room beforehand. We will also have team hosts that will be working with you on that for any questions, and they'll probably review that too as we're in the locker room pre-announcement. Okay. Health and safety, obviously. I have to say that COVID is still a thing. There's still stuff going on. So monitor your team, keep an idea on where health is at with your team. If there's any safety concerns or anything along those lines, please reach out to us and let us know. Minneapolis does have their curfew ordinance, and I believe there is a link for Minneapolis ordinance on there in the participation guide, so you can see that. Again, this is a fun and awesome experience for all of your communities to come down, especially the outstate ones, to come down the city and compete for a state championship. The last thing we want is for, some kids to get caught up in an issue or a curfew or worse or something along those lines in the city. This is treated as a business trip. Have your kids down here and have fun and enjoy the experience, but you guys are down here to win a state championship. That's the way I view it, and proceed accordingly. All right. And then ramp extended hours. We have worked with parking facilities in case there's things go later through knock on wood. There's don't have overtimes, but we have connected with our parking ramps, so we will not have issues on the extended hours of parking ramps. And then stats will all be electronic. I want to pass it over to Jason Nickleby here for just a quick hitter on our media timeouts and our instant replay. Jason, are you available?
Thanks, Phil. I'm going to start with media timeouts. So these are for semifinals and championship games only. We will have a media timeout on the first whistle at or under 12 and at or under 6 in both halves. If that whistle is for free throws, we will not freeze free throw shooters like they do at other levels. We will shoot those. If the second or third free throw is successful, then we will go to media timeout at that point. If a timeout is called within 30 seconds of a media mark, so 12:30 or under, 6:30 or under in either half, the media will be taken. You're still charged with a timeout if the timeout is the reason we stop the clock, but the media will take that and you will be charged with a 30-second timeout, even though we're going to a full media timeout. We will not have media timeouts in any overtime period, but we might have a media timeout in between overtimes if there were to be multiple overtime periods. Because there's only 2 media timeouts in a half, you will get your full complement of timeouts. You have your 3 fulls and 2 30s, just like you would in any regular season game. Okay. From an instant replay perspective, a couple things of note. We have a replay official that is specifically dedicated for making decisions on whether to initiate a review process, and they make all the decisions in replay. The on-court officials do not have anything to do with this process. So coaches, please do not ask officials to look at something or ask them, are we looking at something? They do not have anything to do with the process. The replay official is the one making that determination. As it relates to those reviewable items, and we're pretty limited. What we're talking about as it relates to replay, one, we can fix game clock mistakes, and we can do that throughout the game. So if we don't start or stop the clock, replay can initiate a review to fix that. Also, we can determine whether a try for goal at the end of either half or any overtime period is successful. We're looking at zeros on the clock that's affixed to the backboard, LED light, horn, in that order. That's what we use to make those decisions. Third, we can determine whether a foul occurred prior to the expiration of the game clock in either half or any overtime period. And when we're talking about that, it's a foul that's actually called on the court. Replay cannot create a foul. They cannot take a foul away. If a foul was called on the court at or near the expiration of the game clock, replay can determine whether that foul occurred in time to shoot free throws. If they determine that it is not, we will not shoot free throws unless that foul is a flagrant foul or technical foul. In those cases, we will shoot free throws for those situations. In the last 2 minutes of the second half and the last 2 minutes of any overtime period, we can review out of bounds plays. And we used to have a deflection piece. We no longer have that. They can review any out of bounds play. And again, it has to be an out of bounds call that the officials make on the court. If replay sees that a player stepped out of bounds, but it's not called by the officials, replay cannot create an out of bounds situation. On the other side, if they see that the player was inbounds, replay cannot put them back in. All they can do is deal with who's going to have the ensuing throw-in. And that's the last 2 minutes of the second half and last 2 minutes of any overtime period. So they cannot look at it outside of that. They can look at 2 versus 3 throughout the game. So if the officials call it as a 2 and they were behind the line or vice versa, replay can fix that. If we have a media timeout remaining, they will fix it at the next media timeout. If we do not have a media timeout remaining, we will fix that right away because it has to be fixed within the correctable error time frame. So those are the only reviewable aspects that we have in our replay policy. And so we can't look at fouls, we can't look at flagrant fouls, can't look at any of that. We can only look at what's in the policy, and that's what I've just described. And just keep in mind that replay is going into those reviews with the fundamental assumption that the ruling on the court is correct. And unless they see 100% evidence that suggests otherwise, we're going to move forward with the call on the court as correct, and we're going to move forward. The officials will communicate the decision of the replay official with you if there is a review. We would ask that you go to your bench area if there is a review and wait for that process to be completed. Phil, I believe that's it for media timeouts and replay, and I'll stick around if there's any questions at the end.
Very cool. Thank you, Jason, for your work on this stuff. That's there's a lot of moving parts with the incident replay piece when you're talking about broadcasts and network and people communicating with you. So I appreciate the work that Jason and his team have done on all that stuff. And we've full transparency, we're working towards getting it on the quarterfinal side of things too. It's just got to be right. And so that'll be there. So it's consistent throughout the entire tournament, and not just semis and finals rounds. So appreciate that, Jason. Let's go ahead and move forward, Randy.
Phil,
All right,
just,
oh.
this is Jamie, just one thing. Because I'd just like to prepare coaches, how you were introduced probably all year long as a team coming off your bench and at the sections, the way we do introductions at state are totally different. We'll talk you through it in the locker room, but if you want to get a sneak peek of it, jump in on the girls' state championship games on TV at the start of each game, and we're going to do it exactly how the girls do it. They're going to introduce everybody. It's championship Saturday. So just to give you a sneak peek, but we will help you. It's totally different than what you've done all year. The second thing, and Jason brought it up, if you've been in the state tournament before, we used to do 3 TV timeouts. We're just down to 2. And then we've added that your normal timeouts back in. Jason brought up the point, if you take a timeout under 12, under 6, if you have a question, whether it's going as a TV timeout or your timeout, the people at the table are very helpful. Send one coach to ask the question, whose timeout are we using here, TV or ours or theirs? And they'll give you the answer you want. You can move forward. So a lot of help on these new situations that you'll be, in front of in the next week here, but we'll help you.
You're on.
Thanks, Jamie. I appreciate the extra couple of points there. And again, we will have people around helping out and assisting and those different points to help make sure that's all communicated. Let's hop into some of our coaching requirements here. Head coaches, ADs, pretty straightforward here. These 3 things need to be checked off for admittance to coach. These should have been done during the regular season. I can't tell you that everyone has been checked off before I've checked at the state tournament level, but I can tell you that if any of my tournaments, if you haven't had these checked off, you're not going to coach, you're not going to be on the sidelines, you're not going to be there until those are done. And so make sure that everyone that's on your staff, those 3 coaches for sure that are on the front of the bench, and if there's any coaches that are on the back of the bench and they're on your official roster sheet, they need to have these 3 checked off or they will not be admitted into whatever venue it is that you're playing in. So I'll just this is just a kind of a black and white line. It's got to get done. Make sure it gets done. If there's any assistance that's needed, don't hesitate to reach out. Your AD is your first point of contact. If there's a question after that, then you can reach out to our office and we'll help you get it done. But these need to get done. Straightforward. Go ahead, Randy. All right, pass gate. I'll talk about a couple of different things here. Again, 18 players, 3 coaches, 2 student managers. They'll get a stamp on the wrist. Athletes need to line up. So this is coming in. I'm sorry, let me back up a second. Coming in, getting off the bus. Coming in and getting off the bus. Everyone getting off the bus will check in under Target Center or at Williams at the pass gate. And you will get a stamp on the inside of your wrist. Line up in uniform number order. And state the name to help things run smoother. Many of you have gone through this before, but any of you haven't, it makes things fly a ton faster. We have people there checking off every individual that comes in to make sure that they are part of the official roster. As Jamie said earlier, if you've got someone that you guys are going to come in and then walk around or this or that, just drop them off outside and have them walk around beforehand. They're going to be escorted outside from underneath or out to another gate if you're at Williams. So just do it beforehand instead of causing a backup at the pass gate. If you're an adult, you're going to need to show ID to make sure that you align with the roster, and wristbands will be given for your 5 personnel and the student videographer that are allowed behind the bench. Hand stamp and wristband must be worn for the duration of the day, and it will change daily. So we'll do our best to make sure that if something comes off during a game or something like that, we can get the kid re-stamped or whatever, but that's that on the pass gate. And one thing I do want to also say, if you lose, and Coach Critchley next to me here just asked me to toss this thing out there. If a team is eliminated and you are on the official roster, you are allowed in through the pass gate for the remainder of the tournament. You do get admission to the tournament if you are eliminated from the tournament at any of the 3 venues. You'll check in at the pass gate, just like I mentioned here, and you'll go in, you'll be marked, and you'll be able to come and go. Okay, Randy? All right, team host. This is getting a little bit, I mentioned team host earlier. Jamie talked a little bit about helping instruct teams and learning what's going on in the processes. When you exit your bus, there will be a team host radio down to the loading dock area, and they will meet you at the bus, take you through the pass gate process, and then they will review pregame information and schedule with you. There's, again, once we get in the semifinal and final rounds, there's going to be a ton of information on timing and on court, off court, all that good stuff. So your team host is going to work with you on that. Follow their lead, get to know their names. They're going to do their best to get to know your name and just help you out. They are your liaison. They're going to help you get on and off the floor, and they are going to provide your bag tags, kind of your tournament packet to you. So they'll make sure that you're covered on that front. Go ahead, Randy. All right, locker rooms. Each team's going to have their locker room. Only your official squad, your people on that roster, are allowed in the locker rooms. I'd recommend bringing no valuables. The locker room will be locked coming out of there, but I would still recommend bringing no valuables in there unless it's absolutely necessary. So, and then we will provide whiteboard markers for any game planning stuff that you have to do within the locker room. Jamie, was there anything you want to touch on real quick on the locker room front, or is that okay with you?
No, that's good. The one thing, and it probably happened in 21 coming out of COVID, we really got into teams bringing their own water bottles. You still might do that out of habit. It's not a bad thing to do. You can have a manager or one of the players run it out before you do warmups, and then take them in at half and take them in at the end of the game. We will have water on the end of the bench, and we will have water in the locker rooms that you can refill. But just to get away from all those little cups and the mess it makes, you might just want to remind your kids to bring water bottles.
Perfect. Thanks, Jamie. Let's go ahead and move. All right, uniforms. Tournament bracket determines home team, not your seed. The tournament bracket determines your home team, not the seed. So remember that. So bring both sets of your uniforms, light and dark. Be prepared. We had a girls team already this year that left the stinking jersey that they needed in the hotel and had to go back and get them. Bring both of your uniforms, light and dark, to the arena that you're playing in. Laura, did you have something?
Just to note that for basketball, it is always the bottom team on the bracket that is the home team. It is, as Phil said, seeds do not matter. They have been marked on the brackets. But just for your reference, it is always the home team in basket, always the bottom team on the bracket. That is the home team for basketball.
Yeah. All right. So going into your players here, thank you, Laura, for that. All NFHS rules and Minnesota rules modifications will be enforced, right? Again, this is very visible. This is the state of Minnesota eyes on your team competing for a state championship. It's very exciting, but it also is a great responsibility. So all of the bullet pointed rules here are uniforms. Uniform rules are going to be looked at and addressed within the locker room before they hit the floor. In a perfect world. So our team hosts are going to be keeping an eye on this. Obviously, our tournament managers and any other personnel around, officials, things like that. So make sure that you're talking with your teams about being in proper legal uniform for the contest. And then lastly, on this front, I'm going to just hit on coaches. Again, this is a big stage. I'd like you to treat it as it. And most of you do this, and this is just a preaching to the choir point, but we're on TV here. We're streaming live here. This is the biggest stage in high school sports for basketball that there is available. Have your team looking sharp. Have your coaching team, your squad looking sharp there. And whatever it is, whether it's khakis in a team polo or khakis in a quarter zip or whatever it is, or pants of some sort, please just don't show up in some beat up sweatpants and get it on like we're in the basement gym in the church here. All right. So we'd love to make sure that we're putting the best thing out there. And again, like I said, I'm preaching to the choir in most cases, but we want to put on and represent our community, school, and the state of Minnesota basketball community as best as possible. Go ahead, Randy.
Phil, one thing there that comes up, and Jason and his officials do a wonderful job, but I think it happens at least 2 or 3 times at the tournament. Someone is not wearing the proper uniform, be it a headband, color of sleeves, or leggings, or whatever, and it sends everybody on tilt. The kids on tilt, the coaches on tilt, and do that preventative coaching. You might as well break their heart on Monday than at 10 a.m. on Tuesday at the Target Center. Tell them now they're going to check that. That will be illegal. I can't tell you why it wasn't checked all year long, why it wasn't touched in sections. I can tell you it will be checked there. And there, you just don't want that distraction for your player or distraction for you as a coach to deal with an issue that should be dealt with on Monday. So double check that. Jason's great. If you have a question, you can email him, take a picture of it. He'll tell you if it's legal or not right on Monday.
Perfect, Jamie. That's great. I appreciate that again. And this is why we've got kind of an open dialogue here, because we've got such a swath of experience. And so I appreciate that. Those are really good points. And most of the stuff I've seen, at least this year, has kind of gotten caught in sections. We've got some great questions on uniforms and what's allowable already through sections. And they've been in communication with me, usually the region executive secretary or Jason. But if there is something, yes, Jamie's 100% right. Break the kid's heart on Monday. Don't do it 5 minutes before the freaking game because he's got some other color sleeve on it that he thinks is lucky or whatever. Okay. Thank you for that, Jamie. That's awesome. That's great advice. All right, let's hop down into cheerleaders and mascots. If you're planning on bringing a cheer team, please complete that cheer admittance form, same form as it has been in the past, and review those cheer guidelines that are available on the dashboard. If you plan on bringing the mascot only, thanks. If you plan on bringing your mascot only, please note that cheer form will still need to be completed with that student's name and the supervisor of the person that's going to be with that student. So we're excited for creating an awesome atmosphere, but we've got to do it in a way where we've got everyone that's a minor supervised and worked with within their staff. So please get that information over to us as soon as possible. All right, spectators. The spectator guide is a great resource for you all to use and share with the different families in your communities so they can know what to bring, what not to bring, parking, all kinds of stuff about all three of the venues that we're going to be operating out of here over the course of the next week. So I think the biggest thing on this slide that I want to hit on is, especially at the University of Minnesota, but in all three of the venues, students cannot bring backpacks when they're fans. They can't bring backpacks when they're fans. One of the things that we had to address with the University of Minnesota in particular, now Target Center, they're just not going to let you in, right? The University of Minnesota allowed some onesie twosies last year, but they've been instructed not to allow that. So if you've got kids coming directly from school or whatever, make sure you're communicating with your other admin staff that make sure that they leave bags behind or in the car or whatever it is. I don't know if they're allowed to leave bags on the bus or whatever it is, but bags are not going to be allowed. So we want to make sure that those students don't have these backpacks, and it's going to happen somewhere, I know, but do our best to be proactive on this and stay away from that and make sure the kids are leaving their bags behind. Jamie, did you have something? I saw you kind of raise your hand on that.
Well, I just, the thing is, in the arena itself, cheering sections use a whiteboard to name out the cheer. That will allow that to happen. Yeah. If it flips around and says, screw the ref, we'll take the whiteboard. So if you're going to use it to help your cheer sections cheer, because this is our next cheer, whiteboards are acceptable. As soon as they flip around and they can be seen on camera and are inappropriate, they're going to be confiscated.
Right. Okay, moving forward here, we're going to hop into awards presentations. So after the third place, consolation, and championship games is when there'll be award presentations. Stay in uniform until completed. So it's going to be kind of tough if it's an emotional game and, there's a lot of stuff there, but we need to prepare our teams in advance for this. Players should not shake hands with opponents during the presentation of medals, and only the official roster will receive awards. Jamie mentioned this earlier. They got to be eligible. The school can order additional awards to be purchased by the school from the AD's dashboard. And if there's any questions on that, they can work with myself or Randy on it. The all tournament team, if you win a quarterfinal game, potentially plan on coming to the Target Center on Saturday for the all tournament team presentation. And so that's where our Minnesota Basketball Coaches Association really comes into play there. And so be prepared to get a phone call and have your all tournament team qualifier get over to the Target Center to be presented with their all tournament team award during those championship games.
Bill, one change, and it's consistent from what happened at the university that now that we'll do at the Target Center. The cutting down of nets at the end of a game, it really slows us down between the afternoon and the evening session at Target Center. And the reason being it's not the kids cutting down the nets because we've got them contained on the floor. We can get them off the floor and on their bus out of there. It's all the parents who stick around in the stands and want to watch their kid cut down the net. And the staff at Target's trying to get it emptied to get it cleaned up because the evening session's coming right behind it. For the afternoon session, our plan right now is not to cut down nets and just take them off and present them to the teams from the championship A and AA. Does that make sense? And again, I know it's part of the whole, experience for the kids, but last year we just took the nets down and gave it to them, and it didn't make any difference to any team that won the state championship. They were none the wiser. So thanks
Perfect.
for
Thanks.
that understanding.
Thanks for getting that clarified, James. Appreciate it. All right, checklist on the dashboard. So, all right, we're gonna hop into these things a little bit. So these are due tomorrow to Randy Hill. Her email address is there. We've got to get that official squad, your cheerleaders form, and the band admittance form ASAP. And these are all pieces of, I guess, the logistical aspect of us creating pass books and our pass gate books and all those different things. So we need to get these in. So after this call, please be working, coaches be working with your ADs be working with your coaches, and let's get this stuff submitted. The sooner that we can get them submitted and submitted correctly, so there's no changes or needs or whatever on that stuff, get those in. So that we can put Randy in the best position to help things go smoothly at the pass gates and at other areas throughout the arenas. Go ahead. All right, the pronunciation form. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember. I had a note on the pronunciation form. I apologize. So on the pronunciation form that you'll get, right? We want to make sure that the tournament experience is great for all of our kids, regardless of if they've got an easy name to pronounce or a more challenging or difficult one to pronounce. And so write out clearly how it would be pronounced, and maybe not like old school phonetic, but if you can and just take a few minutes and figure out the best way to pronounce that and write it out for our announcers. I had an announcer come and ask me about that because some of the old school phonetic stuff with even some of the characters that are used, a lot of people don't know. So if you can just write it out how it would be pronounced, that would be great there for the pronunciation sheet. And if there's any questions on it, make sure we'll have our announcers come down and talk to radio down or come and talk to you on that pronunciation piece. All right. The addition of your 5 team personnel. We hit on this a ton already. Again, I'm not going to go into too much more detail on this piece, but your administrative rep, your assistant coaches, statisticians, team medical, those are all people that should be behind the bench if you need it there. Now, I got a text message. Thanks, Hedstrom, on the tickets for admin. You do get 4 tickets. So you can choose to have an administrative rep with those 4 tickets sitting somewhere up in the stands or something like that. But an admin rep can be used to sit behind the bench if need be. Okay. AD, you have a separate spot on our admittance form. AD, you've got a separate spot on your admittance form. Our admin rep, if you need it, you can put in one of those 5. All right. Let's move forward on that. Okay. We're going to hop into a few things. I do have a few questions that I'm going to just sprint through here real quick and address and make sure I got everything before we get into the seating piece. All right, coaches, video exchange. We talked about video exchange already. That was a quick question. Eliminated teams at the pass gate. What was this? Oh, reminder on social media posts. I appreciate that. Thanks, Coach. Let your kids know and have that social media talk. I know you've probably had that social media talk with them a dozen times throughout the season. Again, everything's under a magnifying glass right now. Make sure that your kids are being smart on social media. I've had some coaches with some issues on social media this year. Make sure that your assistant coaches are being smart with their social media comments and posts. Again, the state tournament is an awesome opportunity for a great experience for your kids, but it can be damaged by someone acting like a knucklehead on social media or in person. It's not just in the venue, but there's also the social media aspect. And we want this to go great and smooth for your communities and your kids. And the last thing that Sherwood wants to do is come and talk to me about an ineligible player because so-and-so did something or said something on social media, and we've got to make a call at the 25th hour whether this kid can even be on your bench or not. So have that conversation with them again about this is a business trip. We're coming down here to represent our school and win a state championship and go back and we'll party and act wild when we're back at home. But come down here and compete for a freaking state championship and let's roll. Okay. Any other questions, Randy, that you got?
Phil, one thing is
Oh.
in Minneapolis, now, if you've been to the prep bowl, if you've been to dance team, if you've been to state basketball, you were probably registered with the city of Minneapolis for a bus parking permit. Of course, they're not free. You'll have to pay for it, but realize you'll need it for your cheerleaders, your band, your fan buses, and the team bus. Years ago, we used to have a lot at the Target Center. We could direct buses to from schools. Now yet they park you right on the road and you have to pay a fee for that. It's if you're on, make sure you know your password, but I would get working that on Sunday. Remember now 4A, and I think some of the 2A we're back on, or it might be 3A, we're back on Tuesday. We're really quick back playing. So you only have Monday to get that done. And I know from sitting as an AD, it can be a little bit of a tenuous thing to get those permits back to you so you can get them to your buses.
And to dovetail off of the bus permit piece, I got another quick question about fan buses. There is a sheet on the dashboard that addresses fan buses, and it has instructions for the permit, the parking, the whole nine for fan buses. So you can check that out off of your dashboard. That should get you squared away. All right, I'm going to check my phone and check the chat. And I think we're all good on any.
Phil,
Yep.
one last thing, and this was new last year, so you even can teach an old dog something new after 28 years. For some reason, the teams wanted to stay and have lunch in the locker room. We made a mistake and said yes. We weren't thinking, trying to be considerate and helpful and get the kids fed. But it's one team after another in that locker room. So we don't have extra places to put people if they come early. So what we ask is once your game's done, that you grab your stuff and get out so the Target Center personnel can get it clean from the next team that comes in. If you want to get something to eat.
Things are, thanks, Jamie. Things
Yep.
are very tight, timing and space wise. And so, especially at Williams and your quarterfinal games, Tuesday and Wednesday. So I don't want to go to a spot like we have to do for hockey where you've got a quick 30 minutes and then we're kicking you out of the locker room. So I would just say, just be mindful of that. And your team host will be working with you and kind of giving you the lay of the land and reminding you, again, win, everyone's going to be fired up and losing track of time. Loss, everyone's going to be pissed off and trying to figure out what the next move is and be losing track of time. So your team host is there to help guide some of those things. But let's just be mindful of it as well. Okay. So I kind of looked through everything here. Laura, Jason, Tim, I want to check with you and make sure that we're all good on your fronts before we hop into the seating piece. Jason, I got a thumbs up. Laura got a thumbs up. Randy, good. Got a thumbs up there. All right. So this is what we're going to do. Class A folks, if you don't have any interest in what else is going on, feel free to exit the meeting at this point in time. Remember, your seeds are due at 4:00 and our seating meeting will be at 6:00 on Zoom. And all that information was sent out to you last night after we got information on the game that wasn't able to be played. So that will be at 4:00. Your seeds are due. We're anticipating that 3-ish or so you'll have all of your qualifiers and all the information to do that. Seeds will be due at 4. We'll have the meeting at 6 tonight. It will be a quick meeting. We're doing seating only. We're not repeating all of this information. For everyone else that's on the Zoom meeting, we're going to start with our seating of Class 2A basketball. You ready, Chris? All right. So in our quarterfinal games for 2023 Class 2A pairings, we've got, oh yeah, sorry. So these were drawn earlier. This was all set up earlier so we can kind of just run through it here and then we will post it immediately after the meeting. We do that so we can have it set up for you so you guys can view it on the website and all that stuff and everyone can view it. So Coach Critchley here, Tom Critchley, Coaches Association did the random draws. It was not myself or Randy Hill or any league staff. It was a separate entity in the Coaches Association. So Class 2A, sorry for keeping you hanging, gang. Class 2A, we'll have the number 5 seed Minnehaha playing number 4 seed Maple River. So that's number 5 Minnehaha playing number 4 Maple River. We will have the number 3 seed Plainview Elgin Millville PEM playing random draw Dilworth Glendon Felton DGF. So that'll be number 3 seed PEM playing random draw DGF. We will have number 2 seed Albany playing random draw Pequot Lakes. That'll be number 2 seed Albany playing random draw Pequot Lakes. And then we'll have the number 1 seed Holy Family playing random draw Eden Valley Walk-ins. Holy Family, number 1 seed, random draw Eden Valley Walk-ins. That's your Class 2A seeding and pairings. All right. Moving to 3. Oops, sorry, Excel. All right, our Class 3A seedings. We've got seed number 5, Alexandria area versus seed number 4, Mankato East. That's Alexandria and seed 5, Mankato East in 4. We've got seed number 3, De La Salle versus random draw Stewartville. De La Salle, number 3 seed versus random draw Stewartville. And then we've got our 2 seed, Orono versus random draw Hermantown. That's number 2 seed, Orono versus Hermantown. And then we've got our number 1 seed, Totino Grace versus random draw St. Francis. That's number 1 seed, TG versus St. Francis as a random draw. And that's our Class 3A seed pairings. All right, we're moving on to Class 4A seed pairings. We've got our 5 seed Eastview versus our 4 seed Minnetonka. That's 5 Eastview versus 4 Minnetonka. We've got our number 3 seed Wayzata versus random draw White Bear Lake. That's 3 Wayzata versus random draw White Bear Lake. Our number 2 seed will be Lakeville North versus random draw Buffalo. Lakeville North with the 2 seed versus random draw Buffalo. And then we've got our number 1 seed Park Center versus random draw Andover. That's Park Center with the 1 seed versus random draw Andover. Okay, that's going to conclude our seeding and participation guide meeting for the day. These brackets and everything will be available online. The recording of this meeting will be to go conference, along with the participation guide and all the other state tournament resources that are either in the dashboard or under the activities tab that are in the middle of your dashboard that you click on that takes a little while to load, and there's the accordion. Okay, so with that, I want to say thanks to everyone that's still on this call. We appreciate your work. If there is any questions or some clarity needed, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And congratulations on making it, and let's have an awesome tournament. I'm excited to get you down there. Thanks.